What are some of the dumbest things that people will do? Let's get right to it, starting with number 5, a diverse scam. Barbara Furlow Smiles, a former global diversity executive at Facebook, pleaded guilty to stealing over $4 million from the company. She held the prestigious position of lead strategist, global head of employee resource groups and diversity engagement at Facebook for over 4 years, and she devised a scheme that exploited her position of trust. Furlow Smiles, entrusted with overseeing diversity, equity, and inclusion, known as DEI programs at Facebook, used her authority to orchestrate a plan that involved fake vendors, fictitious charges, and cash kickbacks. Apparently, she had manipulated her access to company credit cards, enabling her to submit bogus purchase requisitions and approve invoices for supposed authorized vendors, taking steps to cover her tracks. First, she linked PayPal, Venmo, and Cash App accounts to her Facebook credit cards, making payments to friends, relatives, and associates for goods and services that were never provided to the company. To camouflage these transactions, Furlow Smiles submitted fake expense reports, claiming her associates had rendered services like merchandise or marketing, when in reality, they hadn't. Once these individuals received payments from Facebook, they returned a substantial portion of the money to Furlow Smiles, often in cash or transfers to accounts held in her husband's and others' names. Associates resorted to wrapping up cash in t-shirts or paying each other to further mask the illicit transactions. Probably just to make whatever they were doing look even more illegal. Second, she manipulated Facebook into onboarding vendors owned and operated by her friends and associates who also paid her kickbacks. After the contracts were approved, Furlow Smiles greenlit purchases from these vendors. Following that, she approved fake and inflated invoices, directing the vendors to return a significant portion of the funds to her once Facebook paid up. The scope of Furlow Smiles' recruitment for her illicit activities extended to friends, relatives, former interns, nannies, babysitters, a hairstylist, and even her university tutor. Basically, everyone. She also exploited the system to make payments for her benefit, including hefty sums for specialty portraits and over $18,000 for preschool tuition. Yeah, you heard that right. She spent $18,000 to send a toddler to daycare. Who does that? Oh yeah, people who want to brag about overspending on daycare. In total, Furlow Smiles pilfered an insane $4 million from Facebook through fake charges and fraudulent invoices, all to fund a lavish lifestyle between California and Georgia. And what makes this story particularly dumb is just how unnecessary the nature of Furlow Smiles' actions were. Holding a high-ranking position at Facebook, a company known for its attractive compensation packages and benefits, means she was already doing pretty well for herself. In the end, Barbara Furlow Smiles' scam wasn't just about money. It was about buying more status. It reminds us of a quote from Fight Club that is as relevant today as it was when it came out. We all work jobs we hate to buy things we don't need to impress people we don't like. Number 4, the squatter. Let's dive into the world of stupid decisions, starring Keith Best, the guy who turned squatting into a bizarre legal jackpot. Keith was a squatter who walked into an empty house, revamped it, claimed legal ownership, and cashed in on a cool £540,000, which sounds really slick, but it wasn't. Back in 1997, Keith Best, a builder with a knack for spotting opportunities, set his sights on a seemingly vacant house in Newbury Park, London. Like any DIY enthusiast with a master key, he made the place as his own and gave it a makeover. The house, once owned by Doris Curtis, had been left lonely since her son Colin bailed out in 1996. Colin, not caring much for the property, had inherited another place and left Newbury Park. And we've all been there, right? Too many houses to choose from. Sometimes you just gotta abandon one. Am I right, fellow multi-homeowners? Anyway, 8 years later, and Keith Best wasn't just living the dream, he was cashing in on it. He sold the house for a hefty £540,000. But he said he was £255,000 in the red, all thanks to a whopping £400,000 spent on legal fees. Apparently, he had to battle it out in court to make the house legally his. Best argued that he had every right to snatch up the place because Colin Curtis had basically ghosted on the property. He even says he shelled out £245,000 to Colin's granddaughter as compensation and tossed another £150,000 into renovations. Best also said he used his savings and income from a cushy job as a senior manager at Virgin, raking in £75,000 per year. He even threw in a 2-year legal tussle with his family over his mother's estate for good measure. The legal drama began in 2012 when Best tried to claim possession of the Newbury Park house. Initially shot down because squatting had become a criminal offense, Best somehow miraculously got the green light in a 2014 high court ruling where the judge basically said the old rules still applied. Colin Curtis, the son of the original owner, was not happy. He compared the situation to someone claiming your car because they decided to sit in it. Colin, living on £261 a week from his pension, passed away in 2018. In the end, Keith Best's squatting saga seems like it was just a bunch of dumb decisions. Whether he was genuinely in the financial dumps or playing a tune on the world's smallest violin, one thing's clear. Basically stealing a house, splurging on renovations, and dishing out big bucks for a legal showdown seems like a textbook case of, well, stupidity. Number 3. Non-imaginary road signs. In Oregon, some car thief got more than they bargained for when they ignored a road sign, only to find themselves careening into a hole caused by a landslide. Because road signs aren't suggestions. Well, stop signs are, but only when running. The Tillamook County Sheriff's Office received a call about an upside-down, slightly charred car on fire just early on a Sunday morning. The driver had vanished before the authorities could arrive. Apparently, the road had been closed for some time, but the driver removed the barrier and road closed signs and drove directly into the hole. A photo from the scene tells the tale of the upside-down vehicle in all its glory, precariously perched in the aftermath of the ill-fated decision. The road closure wasn't a random inconvenience. A recent landslide had left a portion of the road disintegrated. It had already been an ongoing problem with people removing the barriers and driving on the closed portion of the road anyway, which clearly isn't a good idea. To add a final twist to the story, the car's owner dialed 911 about an hour after the crash to report that their vehicle had been stolen earlier that morning. It seems this daring car thief chose the wrong road for their escapade. Any other route and they probably would have gotten away. And here's another driving tip. Red means stop, green means go, and yellow means go faster. Number 2. Not family money. Former Jacksonville Jaguars employee Amit Patel found himself at the center of a shocking scandal, accused of embezzling more than $22 million from the NFL franchise between 2019 and 2023. Patel had allegedly exploited the team's virtual credit card program, diverting funds for his personal benefit, including purchasing a condominium, luxury vehicles, and even a high-end designer watch valued at $95,000. The revelation came to light through court documents filed in U.S. District Court in Jacksonville, Florida. While the Jaguars were discreetly referred to as Business A in the federal filing, the team later confirmed that it was indeed the victim of Patel's alleged financial crimes. In a statement, the Jaguars said that Patel, who had been part of the organization for 5 years, was terminated from his position in February of 2023. According to the team's statement, Patel, formerly the manager of financial planning and analysis, took advantage of his trusted position to engage in covert and intentional fraudulent financial activities solely for personal gain. The Jaguars said that Patel had no access to confidential football strategy, personnel, or other football-related information, like their national secrets or something. The team also clarified that it had enlisted experienced law and accounting firms to conduct an independent review, which concluded that no other team employees were involved or aware of Patel's criminal activities. The court documents detailed Patel's elaborate scheme, highlighting his role as the administrator of the team's virtual credit card program. Patel's authority allowed him to request virtual credit cards for business-related purchases or expenses on behalf of certain authorized employees. Starting in September 2019, he allegedly began making fake transactions, concealing them by duplicating real recurring transactions and inflating the amounts of genuine charges. He also inserted entirely fictitious transactions to further hide his activities. The court filing revealed that Patel used the proceeds from his embezzlement scheme for a wide array of personal expenses expenses. These included placing bets on online gambling sites, buying a condo in Ponte Vedra Beach, Florida, funding vacations, purchasing a Tesla Model 3 sedan and Nissan pickup truck, retaining a criminal defense law firm, and investing in crypto. Additionally, Patel reportedly spent stolen funds on luxury items such as electronics, sports memorabilia, a country club membership, spa treatments, concert and sporting event tickets, home furnishings, and an extravagant luxury wristwatch. The dude had some plans, apparently. In a not-so-surprising turn of events, Patel pleaded guilty to federal charges of wire fraud and engaging in illegal monetary actions during his court appearance. He openly admitted to committing the crimes he was accused of and acknowledged the misappropriation of funds for personal gain. Patel's lawyer revealed that a significant portion of the embezzled money was lost through online sports gambling on platforms like FanDuel and DraftKings. The attorney cited Patel's huge gambling problem as a driving force behind his deceptive actions and said that Patel used team money for his gambling activities. Then he cleverly hid the condo and the cars behind his back so the judge couldn't see them. During the sentencing, Patel admitted to having a gambling disorder and undergoing treatment, including therapy. The guilty plea means that Patel will have to forfeit properties to the government amounting to the $22 million he confessed to stealing. This includes the Ponte Vedra condo, a Tesla, and a Nautilus watch. And again, why, Patel? You were always going to get caught since you were the only guy with the authority to mess with the virtual credit cards. Your fingerprints were all over everything, and now you lost your cushy job working in a sports franchise. Dumb, dumb, dumb. If you're enjoying this video, be sure to stay right here to find out how this guy just simply blew through his investors' money. Number 1. Blowing money fast. Famous reality TV star Katie Price got herself into a financial mess, ultimately leaving herself bankrupt. The story of her rise, fall, and financial struggles reveals a journey from model to businesswoman to a bankruptcy hearing. Price rose to fame in the 1990s as a model, gaining attention for her various enhancements and frequent appearances in men's magazines. Despite starting in a down-market career displaying her assets, Price diversified her interests, venturing into publishing, fashion, and reality television. She got pretty famous through various reality TV shows, including I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, where she met her future husband, pop star Peter Andre. Price's relationship with Andre propelled them into the limelight, leading to several more reality TV shows, commercial deals, and a highly publicized marriage. Price's career flourished during this period, and she became a self-proclaimed businesswoman with ventures into autobiographies, novels, underwear, perfume, and clothing lines. At her peak, she was reported to be worth £45 million, a testament to her successful branding and business endeavors. But as the reality TV landscape evolved with new, higher profile faces emerging on other shows, Price's popularity began to wane. Younger and more cost-effective personalities entered the scene. Her decline was further exacerbated by personal challenges, including a tumultuous love life, multiple divorces, and her mother's terminal illness. Financial troubles started to surface as her businesses struggled, and her once grand £2 million Sussex mansion fell into disarray. Reports revealed her mounting debts, including being £100,000 behind on her mortgage with monthly repayments of £10,000, and collectors actually showed up at her door to get money she owed. To maintain her lavish lifestyle, Price incurred significant expenses, including £120,000 on housekeepers, gardeners, and nannies, £1,500 on manicures and pedicures every other day, and an annual expenditure of £12,000 on hair extensions. Her attempts to keep up appearances and fund her lifestyle led her to sell her clothes on eBay, which is a pretty big departure from her former life. In a desperate bid to address her financial issues, Price entered into an individual voluntary arrangement with her creditors, aiming to repay her debts. Unfortunately, she failed to adhere to the terms of the agreement, so her creditors pushed for bankruptcy, which was filed, and an official receiver took control of her financial affairs and property. The once wealthy Katie Price, who bragged about her ability to turn everything she touched into gold, found herself in the challenging position of bankruptcy. It's a pretty steep fall to once being worth £45 million and being reduced to selling your wardrobe on eBay. Who are some of the most heartless criminals who don't care about any of their crimes? Let's get into it, starting with number 6, Big Rig Ponzi. Rapper Big Rig Baby and his business partner allegedly ran a Ponzi scheme to raise millions of dollars from investors in a fake company. Big Rig Baby, whose real name is Patrick Earl Williams, a name he should stick with, since his stage name sounds like he's a giant baby semi-truck, and his partner, Rolf Max Hirschman, promised high returns on investments for people that invested in their company, Weedgenics. Thinking their money would go toward funding growing facilities in California and Nevada, investors contributed millions of dollars, expecting returns as high as 36%. In true Ponzi style, Williams and Hirschman used new investor cash to pay other investors, creating the illusion that the business venture was generating revenue. Williams kept $8 million in investors' funds, from which he spent $625,000 on dining, adult entertainment, jewelry, and other luxury items. He also used the funds to promote his music career, putting it towards paying producers, iHeartMedia, and DJs. He transferred roughly $1.9 million of investor money into his personal bank accounts. Hirschman used the name Max Bergman when communicating with investors. He received approximately $15.6 million in investor funds and, like Williams, made many extravagant purchases. Hirschman spent almost $5 million on real estate and $2.4 million on luxury cars. He additionally put $3.2 million toward credit card payments and withdrew $913,000 in cash. It was easy for investors to believe that everything was legitimate. The website claimed to have a 52,000 square foot campus in Las Vegas and was building a new growing facility in California. However, a complaint from the SEC revealed that the company was a sham. The filing accused Williams and Hirschman of lying about the existence of an actual company, falsifying its venue, and using investor funds for their own gain rather than for their purported business. The pair also allegedly lied about having the necessary licenses and permits to open the cultivation facility in California. They showed investors fake financials, locations, and photographs of their facilities. According to the complaint, Williams and Hirschman hid their money in multiple companies in order to not raise any suspicions. They created 16 organizations, most of which were LLCs, to move and transfer funds. In total, Big Rig Baby and his partner scammed investors out of $62 million. Number 5. Kidnapped claims. Charlene Carrasco told her ex-boyfriend that a felon kidnapped her so that he would send her money. Carrasco, who lived in Nottingham, England, repeatedly called her ex-boyfriend, begging him to send cash as her kidnapper would only release her once he had the ransom. The pair met online in 2011 and soon developed an in-person relationship where they would meet weekly. Although they split in August 2013, they stayed friends. In 2014, Carrasco started asking her ex-boyfriend for money, requesting small sums of $10 to $20 to help her pay bills and buy groceries. But in January of 2015, Carrasco contacted him again, saying she owed a lot of money to a gangster who was holding her against her will. Carrasco claimed the kidnapper locked her in a car and was taking her to an ATM to see if the money was in her account. Carrasco's ex-boyfriend, trying to be a good guy, transferred $880 into her account and then an extra $378. The kidnapper apparently had an oddly specific amount in mind. Anyway, Carrasco called him the next day to say the alleged gangster had injured her. Carrasco claimed the only way to get him to stop was if her ex-boyfriend transferred more money. So he sent an additional $378. Seriously, why that amount? And contacted the police. When law enforcement arrived at her home, Carrasco acted confused and claimed she had no idea why her ex would have reported a kidnapping. Although she made it seem like her ex was lying when he spoke to the police, 10 days later, Carrasco contacted him again. This time, she said that her wallet and bank card were stolen by a man named Sean, who demanded $1,890, sticking with his weirdly specific amounts, before he would give her her things back. The best ex on the planet then received WhatsApp messages from Sean, who threatened to physically hurt Carrasco if he didn't get the money. Further, Sean said that he would sell Carrasco to a man who would do unspeakable things to her, like making her listen to Big Rig Baby's music. Sean then told the ex to send the money, and if he went to the police, it would make things much worse for Carrasco. The ex-boyfriend called Carrasco, who cried but insisted she would be okay if he sent the money. He sent over another $389 and afterwards called the police again. Authorities deployed multiple officers to find the alleged hostage, eventually locating her at her family home. They arrested Carrasco after discovering that she lied about the kidnappings. She pleaded guilty to blackmail and fraud and was sentenced to 12 months in jail. You would think alarm bells would be going off when someone's demanding a ransom of only $378. Like, normally the ransom is much higher, but he was having a blowout sale on prisoners. It's the end of the quarter, and hey, he's got a boss too, you know? Gotta hit those numbers. And wouldn't you be mildly offended on some level that he really didn't think he could get much more for you than $1,000? Like, he's looking at you and thinking, well, if I go too high, this guy isn't gonna pay it. We'll start really low and go from there. Yes, we know it's fake, but still. Number 4, scamming immigrants. Norma Ferrer scammed money out of undocumented immigrants with pending cases. Immigration attorney Martin Lester of Lester Law Firm received a phone call from a woman who claimed to be a client and wanted to know what was happening with her case. Her name was unfamiliar to Lester, who searched through his computer to find a record of the caller's case. After discussing the situation with other attorneys, he learned that a scammer had targeted a group of people Lester was trying to help. A woman named Norma Ferrer had been telling undocumented immigrants that she was working with various attorneys in the area. She said that if they paid her, she would coordinate everything that needed to happen for them to win their cases. Norma called her company Ferrer's Multi-Services and posted ads on Facebook written in Spanish offering various services like immigration help and tax filings. The ad also included translation services for appointments with lawyers, hospital visits, and court cases. Ferrer also forged documents, including a contract with Lester Law Firm's logo. The phone call to Lester resulted in her indictment. Ferrer's lawyer required concrete evidence saying the defense started their own investigation into the case and found discrepancies. However, the prosecution highlighted that if found guilty, Ferrer would have denied undocumented immigrants the opportunity to live legally in the United States. Number 3, paying for employment. Leah Wilson, a single Australian mother of 3, lost thousands of dollars in an employment scam. Wilson was a victim of the September 2022 Optus data breach, where hackers stole her personal information. Less than a year later, it happened again. Wilson applied for jobs online using Tradewind Australia, a legitimate employment agency. Shortly after, Wilson received a text saying she had secured a part-time job. The scammers asked for her phone number and requested she follow a few links and fill out forms to complete the onboarding process. During the chat, she sent over personal information such as bank account details. Instead of starting her new job and making money, scammers stole $40,000 from her bank account. $34,000 of that money came from a GoFundMe she used to raise funds for her daughter's medical bills. Wilson's daughters suffered from mental health conditions and eating disorders, and she'd already remortgaged her home 3 times to cover their current medical bills. She also worked 3 jobs to make ends meet. In 2022, cyber criminals took her driver's license details to hack her government account and create fake tax returns in her name. Tradewind Australia confirmed 100 people reported similar scams from people impersonating the company. The website added a notice warning job applicants about the scheme. Number 2, going undercover. Scammers stole a 91-year-old widow's life savings by convincing her she was helping track down fraudsters. A fake police officer named Andrew William contacted the great-grandmother, Margaret, whose last name has been kept private, on behalf of the Australian Federal Police to inform her that someone was trying to steal her money. The scammer then convinced Margaret to transfer her savings to another bank so the AFP could track the hackers. The scammers told her she couldn't tell family or friends, which could compromise the police operation. According to William, people were losing large sums of money to hackers, and some banks handled it better than others. William reached out to the great-grandmother almost daily with instructions to transfer money into Australian and overseas accounts. Since Margaret didn't bank online, she had to go to the bank each time physically. As a longtime customer of the Bank of Queensland, staff grew concerned about the large withdrawals. One of the employees tried to indirectly ask if Margaret could have fallen victim to a scam, stating that she could be transferring cash to a fraudulent bank. Since William threatened that she could lose her money if she spoke to anyone about the operation, Margaret stayed quiet. William had told her that if anyone wanted to know why she was moving so much cash around, that she should give a benign excuse like buying a new car or doing home renovations. In total, Margaret transferred $399,270 under William's instruction. Margaret finally realized she was scammed when she tried to withdraw money from one of her new accounts, only to find that the money was gone. Unfortunately, scams impersonating the AFP are common and on the rise. Representatives for the police highlighted that the AFP would never call and ask people to transfer money or send it to new bank accounts. Having lost her life savings, Margaret had to sell the home her son built for her and her late husband. Number 1, jailed for life. Hakan Aysel pushed his pregnant wife off a cliff while taking a selfie so that he could collect her life insurance. Aysel's wife, Semra, was 7 months pregnant when he insisted they take a picture on the side of a cliff. Although she was frightened of heights, he lured her to the edge of the 1,000-foot drop and shoved her. Soon after her passing, he attempted to collect a $50,000 life insurance payout, alerting police to the suspicious circumstances surrounding Semra's passing. In court, Aysel attempted to deny his role in the incident, and after the jury found him guilty, he tried to appeal on the basis of insanity. He quickly dropped the appeal after medics dismissed the claims. In his version of events, he claimed that Semra put her phone in her bag after they took the photo. A few minutes later, she asked him to grab her phone. As he walked a few steps away, he heard a scream. When he turned around, she was gone. However, there were witnesses. Several other people were at the cliffside that day and took pictures and videos of the view. They noticed that Aysel was eerily calm after the future mother of his child fell. He waved down a driver and said that his wife had fallen. The driver got out of the car and helped him look for her, but they couldn't tell where she landed. While people tried to get closer to the edge to get a better look, Aysel didn't seem all that interested in helping. Aysel appeared carefree as they waited for rescue workers to arrive and showed no emotion when the rescue crew found his deceased wife. His nonchalance continued when he went with Semra's devastated family to collect the body. While the rest of the family was shocked and grieving, Aysel didn't even seem sad. Her family was confused when they learned Semra had taken out loans, as she was always against doing so, and realized that Aysel took them out on her behalf. They also didn't understand why she would have gone so close to the cliff's edge due to her fear of heights. When asked about his wife's insurance policy, Aysel claimed he didn't examine it closely and the banker arranged the paperwork. He stated that the banker arranged the paperwork, which he handed to his wife to sign, and was unaware of how much money was in the policy. A jury saw through Aysel's lies and found him guilty. He was sentenced to life in prison. Click to watch one of these next videos. Let us know in the comments section what superpower you'd rather have. The ability to eat as much as you want and still have the perfect body, or the ability to create money with the snap of a finger.